Welcome to day 6 of Masters of the Genius Universe, our online masterclass event. That's wowie, isn't it amazing?
Hooray!
We've been having, oh my gosh, such an amazing time. The energy has just been off the charts. Did we pick the right timing for this or not? April 1st to 15th, 2015, pretty amazing. And the sharing that's going on, what you're getting in the consciousness link-ups, what you're getting from watching the videos, the connections that are being made. It's just amazing. I love it. So today's gem of a topic is working with the grand forces of creation.
Hey!
I think that came to me because this morning as I was doing the 10 a.m. consciousness link up with us all, I could feel spring coming. And, you know, it's April 4th, 5th here. But it's like it hasn't burst yet. So I went to connect with where does spring burst forth from? And suddenly in the conscious link up, I was filled and flooded with this supercharge of energy that's just life waiting to burst into its next iteration of itself and to show itself to the world. And I think that one of the things that happens when you connect with the grand forces is, one, you are filled with amazing energy, power, vibrational frequency. It like times 100 of, I think, what you might do on your own, but it depends. Maybe you're really good on your own, so I don't want to invalidate that. But also, I think when you're working with grand forces, you can move things more easily, more readily, more almost enchantingly, charmingly, graciously, because it doesn't take any effort from you at all. In fact, it gives you great energy while you're doing this. It's quite extraordinary, actually. So maybe we could all just connect with whatever grand force of creation you feel called to today, just as a beginning for this call. So just take a deep breath and connect with whatever grand force you'd like to. Breathe it, let it fill you up, let it flood your senses, head to toe and all around you. Make your relationship with it. Then let it flood through you to the world as if you're enhancing, enriching it. You are its dance partner. And you're taking it to where maybe it's never been before. And I'm using spring, the life force of spring bursting forth, and gifting it to the whole planet and to everyone in the world, even where it's fall, because they can use a boost too. You can see the dolphins leaping in the oceans and things like that.
Yes, it's joy to watch your face.
Yes.
So you're
So
probably going to ask me, what did I experience and what's my take on all this?
that's exactly what I was going to ask you.
What I'm saying. I would say that this is all about relationship, and I don't think about any one particular thing, which is the grand force of creation or nature or whatever. It's like I could feel what is the right thing for me to connect with at this moment. What is the right thing for me to play with? And I think it's about connection. I think it's about relationship, and I think it's about what you feel called to the dance, and who is your dance partner at this moment. When I was writing the book of Magica, my dance partner was about magic, to finding a source of magic. That was really the outcome of it, that there would be a new source of magic to be presented to to everything everywhere. So there's something about you look to the places within yourself where you feel the most amazing pulsating breath of creation. I'm going to use those terms because they work for me. And creation for me is a living entity. It's a living force of power, and it enables me to almost like switch gear from what I might think of as my normal life, writing books and doing teleclasses and workshops and doing these calls with you. But it puts it into another place. It establishes a more powerful effect to whatever I'm doing. And therefore I'm not only in connection with it, I'm filled with the power of it.
Mhm.
Its power is my power. My power is its power. It's indistinguishable. Basically, that's what it comes down to. And I think when you're talking about having this effect of bringing spring to the world, you've got to feel that it's the right thing for you to engage in. For me, the thing which I was engaging with, it was almost like I could put out my hand and I could feel this golden ball, and I know that I'm looking at a particular aspect of the world, and perhaps I'm looking at its brilliance. I'm getting the feel of the purity of its energy. But as I feel that there's this ball in my hand, which is the world, that it is it's complete in itself. It is like I understand this beauty. So I'm looking at the beauty of it. I'm in awe of the power that's being generated inside of it. I'm feeling my love for it, and it's perhaps reciprocating to me as well. So there's an ongoing movement of energy. And I think when we do that, you feel that something fires up inside of you. Something almost like takes you over and you're in a completely different space. The world as you knew it isn't the world that you're now engaged with. It's a completely different place. And I think that's the joy of doing these things. When you engage with these, let's say, forces of creation, you are moved to do things which you otherwise would not think of doing. It wouldn't take place in your daily life.
Yeah.
But suddenly you're inspired. There's this moment of complete awe and admiration, and a feeling of there is something here which I am moved to do, and because I'm moved to do, it becomes real for myself and perhaps for all other people.
I love that you said creation for you is a sentient being, an entity, force, a power, and you partner with it. Same for me. That's how I see creation as well. So maybe we could just get everybody to connect to creation as a sentient entity. And I'm sure all of you have before, because you're all those kind of people. But let's just do it anyways as a whole and see what happens. Do you want to take us through that?
So, take a deep breath. You feel that there's a power. You feel that there's a life force, a movement of energy. You feel that there's inspiration and guidance and a knowing, all taking place, that lifts you into another realm of powerful experience. In this place, everything seems so easy. Everything is really just so light and delicate and wondrous, as if the very breath that you take moves the world on its axis, lets it spin perhaps a little bit more faster, more freer. Whatever the world wants, whatever the universe calls to you, you are the breath that sets it in motion. You are the field of awe that lights up the suns in all the galaxies, in all the universes. You feel that this is a true thing. That is not that you make it up, that you imagine it to be so. You feel that something is set in motion because of your presence and because of your desire to be here, to witness it flourish and bring this eternal springtime into being. And you feel filled with the eternal springtime. Every cell of you responds. It is like you no more know about your body, but you feel all the air around you. You feel all of the galaxies and all of the universes. You feel somehow that time and space really do not play so big a part as you once thought. That there's an eternalness, an eternal nature of which you're now aware. It floods all your senses. It gives you new senses to expand and to explore and to understand and to bear witness to. And as you see that the eternal springtime has its own knowing, its own awareness and understanding, its own delicate touches, in which life is brought afresh and new and blossomed, you see that everything is in a perfected state, that you understand that life is a power of its own making, and that you join with it, because you are also of your own making. And you are filled with this awe, and with this delight, and with this eternal springtime of foreverness, of youth, delicately dancing its way amongst the stars, and giving you and cherished memories that you will ever hold within you, always. So,
Lovely.
what was your journey?
Well, it's interesting. Yes, I was experiencing it, I was sensing it, I was feeling it, and I was asking a question at the same time a question came up for me. Do the grand forces of creation have any influence until we partner with them? So I was asking the grand forces as if they could tell me the answer, which of course they can, the infinite intelligence. And the answer I got was that in the physical domain of reality, which we exist in here, the creatures that inhabit that domain are the influencers of that reality. That no outside force can influence it unless through an inhabitor of that reality. Now, I think those grand forces are having multitudes of effect in non-physical reality, probably. Now, that may be true that even there you need some being to stream it through and partner it, but I could really see that. I can feel that when I step up to engage, to embody, to flow and stream and power and enhance and enchant and partner with any grand force of creation. I can feel that it is enhanced by my partnership. That it was floating around, the same as genius, the same thing for me as genius. Genius, possibility, grand forces, they're floating around. They may be doing things, but it just seems to me like they're bursts of things in the air that don't land until someone goes, gotcha. Yes, and breathes it through with that ecstatic delight that you were talking about, and morph it into reality. That's really the game. But to take on the grand forces of creation, to embody them, to breathe them, to partner them, I mean, to me that's just, whoa, what would you want to do? Why would that be the way you'd want to live? I mean, I almost can't imagine wanting to live for anything less than that. You know, it's just such an extraordinary privilege and honor and experience to be able to do that. And it's not like I was thinking as well earlier today or yesterday in one of our things, I thought there was a time where I felt like a tiny little peon, a little pea in that big ocean of amazingness. This tiny little being who was just wandering around on two legs, wondering about things and stumbling through life. I did live like that, I remember the days. And I did ponder the greater mysteries, but I thought we'd never be able to know them for sure. So you could have an opinion, but... And then one day the doors opened for me and I got to discover them. So now, for me, I don't really live as a tiny little being wandering around on two legs. I prefer to live as the grand forces of creation streaming through this point of creation into physical reality, into conscious awareness, into literal consciousness that shapes the fabric of the domain of the universe and this world. And for me, I can't even imagine living for anything less than that now, even though there are very valid things to live for that are less than that. But to me, that just, there is a surrender to it. You know?
I do recall in one of my spiritual experiences, if you'd like to call them those, that it was like I came from a very long way and almost like found it difficult to find the landing place. And I think once we do these things, it allows a landing place for something to move into and become part of your reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why it's quite important to do these types of link-ups and to do these excursions, these journeys, these explorations, if you like, because you're moving beyond the normality of the everyday life routine, and you expand and explore into another area, which is, I'll go back to the old thing about Aladdin's cave. You find another room in Aladdin's cave that you haven't explored before, and it looks to be inky blackness first. But as you sort of like shine the light, babe, then something starts to appear there that you realize it's a rich and marvelous experience being in this place. And there's so much to do and so much to look at and so much to be aware of. And so your question is, how do I become more aware all the time? How do I use my this awareness to explore these things that seem to be there sometimes, but I'm not always sure what they are or how to get to them or what they might be, and dare I anyway? So I think you've got to go back to this place of what is it that you're growing in yourself? What is it that you deeply desire to have the next experience of now, and to allow yourself to become so much more of who you want to be? And I find that, that's perhaps is the place to start from.
Yeah, for me too. And I guess the question we could all ask ourselves right now is, if you reached out to touch the streams of the grand forces of creation that are wanting to manifest into physical reality, if you breathe, and again, you breathe that essence and genius of you, it's like a magnet, and it draws to you that which is perfectly suited to you. So if you reach out and put out the invite for the grand force of creation that right now is the optimum dance for you, and you breathe it through yourself, and you hear its song, and you feel enchanted by its wonder, and you take a breath and you enrich and enhance and enchant it even more, and then you go onto the dance floor with it and you begin to swirl it around and gift it out to others and to the world. And in our collective maypole of dance, as Gina Diane was talking about it yesterday from the consciousness creation link, from the lunar eclipse, you can see we're weaving and dancing a whole ballroom full of grand forces of creation. And they are swirling around, each one of them, and they just merge and weave and interlace and then burst into a grand song through us. And that song fills every blade of grass, every drop of water, and every cloud in the sky, and every bird, and every fish, and every insect, and every butterfly, and every animal, and every person, and all the buildings, and all the mountains, and the rivers, and the streams, and the stars, and the galaxies, and the universes join in the song. And we are all imbued with the wonder of creation and filled filled with its marvels, its possibilities, its genius, because it is genius. Nature, universe, creation, it already is genius. It's genius just waiting to be gifted into realization. God, what a wonderful way to live, you know?
Interesting. I was looking at Imagico and I found a place in there which speaks to what we're talking about.
Oh,
So
great.
I'll just perhaps just read that short passage.
Please do.
It's talking about the beginnings of life. You know, you talk about something like the eternal springtime, and it shifts from becoming the words that you speak into an actual thing that starts to grow within you. And I think that as we talk about something between ourselves here on this call, of course it grows in other people at the same time, because we really are those influences of reality that you're talking about. We are also collectively that power. At the very beginning, there was the whisper of the breath of a flame, so faint, so light. There was no strength yet to cast a shadow, for it arose in the magic place in us. As we beheld it through dreams and in vision, we felt that any movement might disturb and snuff out its gentle motion. Yet it persisted, growing stronger after a time by adding to itself, so then it could be more clearly seen and considered. Many of us looked at it often, wondering what sustained it, not realizing that we gave it brilliance and life from our observation of its form. We perceived a quality of pureness in it, and we loved what we saw, for it touched within us something that responded to its gentle movement. We became more alive, knowing that it brought forth in us all that we most needed. It showed us a rightness and a completeness in ourselves, and in this way it taught us to nurture our seeing of what we wish life to become.
Mm.
So it's like we grow the magic, we grow the mystery, we grow the beauty. There are things that, you know, somehow we respond to most clearly, and that's what we want, that's what we desire. And as we sort of like bring that to focus, then of course it starts to be brought into other people's awareness, and they see beauty, and they feel wonder and be in awe, and they're inspired, and somehow magic has a place in their lives also, because that is also in the fabric of the reality that we're co-creating together.
Yeah, beautiful. You know, as you were reading that, I thought to myself, if you were holding a brand new little baby in your hand, just born, the wonder of that is its purity and its possibilities as yet unknown. But that pureness, that's what you're talking about, that pureness is just an extraordinary thing. And while the grand forces of creation aren't in that baby stage, I think that when you take them on and then you create, what you create is in that baby stage, and it needs tending from its purity. So for me, it isn't just streaming it through, it's also tending it, caretaking it, loving it, being with it on its journey of becoming until it is its own beautiful sentient creation and can stand in its own sturdy, strong way and go on its own journey.
Because then it has its own power and strength.
Yeah. Like when you started working on Imagica years ago, when you started writing that and bringing the new magic through, you know, if you look at it today, it stands very strong.
Absolutely.
In its own right, but you did a lot of things around that, not just write the book, but and stream the things through into consciousness, but all the other things that came with it, so that then suddenly the rest of us were just imbued with it. You know, I know there's other people that might be at work on that too, but that's the thing. When you take on a grand force of creation and you stream it through, yes, you could just stream it through and that's it, you're done, but my guess is that there's a much grander role for us in those things. So, for example, for me today, with that burst of springness, it really isn't about spring because, of course, in the northern hemisphere it's going into fall. But it's where does that force come from, emanate from? And is that a grander thing than just spring? And has nature tapped something that we haven't tapped? Do you know, because human beings are born and they grow to a certain point and then they seem to diminish as they age. You know, I know that part of that is belief and whatever, but if we connected to the place from whence springness comes, not just as life force, but as like a bursting surge of life wanting to become more and more and more, would we then grow and change our relationship to youthening and immortality? And
you would live differently. Your quality of life would be different.
Yeah, well,
your choices would be different.
For me right now, I'll connect to that. Let's just see what would happen doing that. So if you're working on something else, connect to that for yourself, for this, whatever you'd like.
So connecting to the eternal forces, or whatever else presents itself to you.
The wellspring of emergence, that which wants to become the power, that surge from the core of being that we were talking about yesterday for genius transformation. You connect to the grand forces weaving in, but you connect it to the wellspring of emergence, that power force that comes together with the grand forces and weaves a dance. And gifts that dance and then becomes that dance and stands as it and for it. In the walking around reality of physical life here, in this world, in this universe, in this consciousness that we create. And as I say that, I can feel there's a whole other layer of consciousness that wants to burst free. As if the more we take on these pieces of mastery as a collective, the more the whole of our consciousness wants to expand and grow and become and add infinite consciousness possibilities to itself and enrich. Just as Gina Diane wrote yesterday, those 12, infinite love, infinite joy, infinite possibilities, infinite creation, infinite genius. There was 12 of them, and it's just so amazing. So, yeah, I can feel it's changing the consciousness of our living life reality.
12 days of geniuses.
On the first day of genius. The grand forces said to me. Okay, I'll just stop now. Singing is not my form of genius, it's Santari's.
But you bring humor and poetry in there.
Oh,
You're
yes,
speaking poetry.
Absolutely, I was just being funny and creative. Having a good time with it, which is kind
Absolutely.
of, it does, the more you fill up with these grand forces, it's not all serious and significant. It is breathtakingly awesome, but at the same point in time, it just lights you up. Head to toe, you sparkle, you vibrate, you emanate, you are filled with the grand forces of life.
Having seen How to Train Your Dragon, we can now say How to Train Your Genius.
Yes. We watched How to Train Your Dragon 2 yesterday. If you haven't seen it, it's delightful. Oh my God, amazing. And really is so symbolic of looking for the goodness and the greatness in everyone and how you establish relationships in partnerships between, in that case, dragons and humans. And it was stunningly done too. So may your ride on the dragons of the grand forces, the dragon lords of forever, give you great joy today. As you watch this video, it will be Easter Monday, which is an enormous day for a grand force of creation and transformation. And yes, as we burst free on our dragon lords.
I can feel my wings fluttering.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with that we should hang on for a sec. Bring in a few dragons here, just to say hello. Hello.
Well, you can see mine in the corner over there, the red one.
Absolutely. Happy Easter all, and
Yes, happy Easter.
enjoy your rides on the grand forces of creation. Lots of love.
Wherever they will take you.
Bye.
Goodbye for now.